Welcome, sinners. I'm Jayson.
And I'm Rebecca, also known as Emily Sin.
And this is the Sanctuary of Sin podcast. We will cover everything delectably sinful, from kink and queer culture to cults, sex positivity, and everything in between.
Let's get sinful. For our first episode, we thought we would give a little introduction into who we are, why we're doing this, and what we're going to cover.
Together, we run the Sanctuary of Sin, which is an online kink shop full of goodies, personally tried and tested, loved and recommended by us for you, straight from our toy box to yours.
This introduction is to set the tone for future episodes, which will include more in-depth discussions, guest interviews, and deep dives into our special interest, the world of kink, sex, and everything sinful. So a little bit about us. I've been interested in BDSM for as long as I can remember. It's always been something I knew would be a massive part of my life, and these last few years I have really gotten to explore and grow this side of myself.
I'm also very much in the same position. Always known it's been something I've been interested in, but it's taken till a wee bit further down the line to really get into and explore.
I think the social anxiety was winning up until a point.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, we'd never even started going to events until during lockdown, since all the events were online anyway. And I was working from home, so I was constantly on Zoom. It was just, no, it felt like work, but it was I don't know, in a place I was comfortable because we were getting to do it from the house and that.
Yeah.
And it was quite a good introduction.
Yeah, I started off with a sort of a games night, and also a rope workshop and stuff. That was it was really good. It was a nice break from the sort of monotony that was lockdown.
Yeah, definitely. It was something we'd always talked about doing, and yeah, that was just a great opportunity for us to just dip our toes in, so to speak. And
yeah, it was a really nice, gentle start to enter in the community.
Yeah. So fast forward a few years, and we were heading out to our first ever munch, a little tea house in Glasgow, and we actually ended up bumping into someone that we knew from our vanilla life, which was wild. Was not expecting that at all.
Total stomach drop moment.
Yeah. Low-key terrifying, not gonna lie. But it was the first experience that I had kind of normalising kink in a way that it was just, people that you don't expect, they still have that side to their life. And
yeah, for me was that moment of, oh, they walk among us. These people are just peppered throughout everywhere, and it's fine, it is normal, but
it's nothing to be ashamed of, basically, was the kind of takeaway from that. It was quite nice. I feel like things have definitely kind of lined up for us as we've went through our kind of journey.
Yeah. Well, that was the proof that, anybody you see on the street could in fact be part of this community, and you would have no idea. It's not they don't necessarily stand out and attract loads of attention, but there are people everywhere. No matter where you go, there are people everywhere that could be part of this community.
And obviously you keep everybody's privacy, that's
absolutely
paramount. And I think that was part of it as well. I think when you're not used to this lifestyle and you're first going to something like that, there is that fear that you're going to bump into somebody, I feel like that's quite a
I think especially when you're still in a place where you're not out about this lifestyle
totally.
to friends or family or co-workers or anything like that. That fear of
judgment
and being outed was in the beginning especially massive.
Yeah, so I think we almost overcame that straight away, straight in at the deep end. That's per fucking usual, but it was quite nice to have that experience and then have a positive kind of aftermath, so to speak, where the worst happened, quote unquote, but the way it was handled and the way everybody was discreet and nice, because that person was in the same boat as us, where they were feeling the same. That I think when your personal and kink life collide, when you're not out and you're not, as you've said, kind of you're not comfortable having that conversation with the people around about you yet. It can be quite a worry, and it can be quite an overwhelming thing. And I think having that experience and coming out the other side of it, I think we were better for it.
Absolutely. I think it was like a really like prominent example of how the sort of the rules and safeguards within the community actually, they're not just on paper.
Totally.
They are real and people do stick by them.
Yeah.
And people are not out to
like sabotage other people or like, for want of a better word, like
everybody's looking out for each other to keep the discretion. And because I mean, obviously for some people, you know, their jobs and things like that, there could be a lot of backlash.
I was certainly in that boat at the time, do you know, with the line of work I was in, and it being in my contract that like my time outside of work needed to reflect the values, blah 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 blah. And I'm not in any way saying that kink is immoral or whatever, but you never know how people could take that when, do you know, there is still a taboo there. There is still a bit of a kind of fear of the unknown, I think, a lot of the time. And I think it doesn't help the way it's portrayed in media a lot of the time. It is getting better. There's been a few things I've seen recently that are kind of getting closer to what the community's like, but it is very much still sensationalised a lot of the time.
Sensationalised and made out to be seedy and dangerous.
Or like demon worshipy. Like I've seen a few like that kind of start crossing the line into like, do you know?
Yeah, something a bit more sinister and untoward.
Yep. Aptly named, are we? Yeah, so being painfully neurospicy and undiagnosed, I've never really felt like I belonged anywhere. And starting to go to kink events and becoming part of the larger community made me realise I'd found my people. I was going through some really rough things at the time, and honestly, kink and joining the scene honestly saved my life in a lot of ways. And that, do you know, it gave me an opportunity to feel normal. As much as I hate that word, but like, do you know, when we started going to events and stuff, and everybody's kind of knew that I know the terms like unmasked and just kind of free being themselves to a lot more an extent than I was used to. It's like with the people that I was surrounded by, like it was total night and day, and it was like, oh, I'm allowed to be like that. Like this is not like something that I need to continue to like kind of cover up about myself and hide. Like it was really freeing. Yeah,
it was so like affirming to be.
Yeah, that's the word.
Surrounded by you know, like-minded people with similar interests, and you know, both in kink and in vanilla life.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, totally.
A lot of the more niche interests and stuff in vanilla life have quite a lot of representation in the kink community.
Because we all geeky as shit.
yeah. Lots of games nights and things like that with people that are into, you know, board games and all stuff that we in our vanilla life were already kind of involved in.
Yeah.
It was really nice having the crossover, meaning that your connections that you're building with these people don't have to just stay relegated to like the sort of kink side of things. It can be a place to actually make friends.
Yeah, I know we certainly have over the time.
Yeah,
I think the other part of it as well is like, do you know, you're saying we were going to kind of similar style events, but like in our vanilla life. But I think there was always a feeling that you were hiding. Do you know what I mean? For me, even when I was like meeting other people just through vanilla activities and stuff like that, like I don't know, I think having like a thing that I was still holding on to a bit of shame about, just like totally exposed and like okayed, just totally brought down like a wall I didn't realise that I had up previous to that.
Yeah. I mean, it makes it so much easier to make like deeper and more longer lasting connections when you know that there is not large parts of yourself and your interests and things that you need to hide from people.
Yeah.
If you know that you can go in and just totally be open and be you, it's much easier to forge a really good connection with somebody.
I think it's difficult as well because like I would say again, like looking back, kink has definitely been like a special interest of mine.
Yeah.
And it's something that like I enjoy speaking about, and yeah, I think having more opportunities for that was like amazing as well. It was really good just being able to go in and not feel like you were holding anything back. So we've been in a relationship for 10 years, and though we've been practicing BDSM not full time, I personally feel like my own practice and kind of awareness of myself and my kinks and like what makes me tick, so to speak, didn't really begin to flourish until we started going to events. Because as I say, I was kind of holding on to like a bit of shame, I think, still, and a bit of like, I don't know, thinking things needed to be a certain way that were even going against my own. Do you know, I feel like, again, looking at like media and stuff, a lot of what I was kind of basing my interests off of were in a way quite damaging, because they were very like traditional and very like regimented and not really the way that like my personal way doing kink is.
Yeah.
And I was kind of tying myself in knots, like trying to fit in a box that I felt I needed to fit in.
I think being like going to events and seeing other people practicing kink and how their dynamics differ from these sort of like traditional views that you get from books and from porn. And, that was really freeing to see that, oh, it doesn't have to just be this sort of one way and this one dynamic that you've seen or you've read about. And actually it can look however you need it to look, whatever suits yourself and your partner or partners. Just what works for you.
It was a total like kid in a candy store moment, going in and just seeing so many different variations and so many different flavours. And you know, like the thing that always stuck out for me was like the amount of people that actually like played and did scenes with like friends in like a platonic way. And do you know, it was total from going from like, do you know, the traditional like male dom, female sub, like very authoritarian, very strict, which never really suited me totally. Like it wasn't like, I don't know, I'm totally forgetful, do you know, for an example, like trying to build in like routines and rules, and like my brain doesn't work like that. So I don't know, it added to this like feeling like I wasn't enough and feeling like I wasn't good enough to be doing what I was doing. And it was so nice like walking into a room and just being totally like almost overwhelmed with joy at like just seeing how diverse and how colourful things can actually be, how much people can just have fun with things. And I feel like it's definitely opened up like a lot of like what we do together going forward from that, and like what I do myself as well.
Yeah, I think seeing the different types of dynamics has really, really led to us being able to try lots and lots of different things and lots of sort of ways of varying the dynamics that I feel has really given us like a much deeper connection with each definitely. Other during scenes. It's just really made it feel so much more wholesome.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest changes I would say is like previous to us going to events, it was very much like you were the dom, I was the sub. Like I thought that was how it was always going to be, do you know? And like through going to events and kind of exploring and being just generally more comfortable in myself with both my kinks and just generally in my own skin as well, like discovering my dom side and like us switching things up and the kind of journey that we've been on since then. You know, I've got to almost like double like everything. I think this is why so much of the stuff that we enjoy and are interested in and sell as well is so like novelty based, because we're just like, a new thing, not seen that before. Like,
yeah, we're absolute fiends for dopamine.
Yeah.
that is us, and that is our dynamic. And I think there are plenty of other people out there who that is also something that's part of their dynamic.
Yeah, and, totally.
Part of their interests. They're drawn to the dopamine.
It's so funny, like anytime we've got stalls places, you can just like see the neurodivergent people because they just get so excited. They're just like, oh my god, shiny, and like it's great. It's great. It's good fun. Can spot our customers coming. So going back in time a wee bit, we were both raised kind of going to church and Sunday school, and it's definitely added in quite a few hurdles for us to overcome in terms of kind of making peace with this part of ourselves and our sexuality. we're both queer, and we've always kind of kept this hidden from parents and those around us, even ourselves at times. You know, that's been a whole other journey in and of itself.
Yeah, that was something I did not realise about myself until actually very recently. But now looking back through that lens, realise it should in fact have been more obvious a long time ago.
Yeah.
But
the masking is strong.
Yeah, I think quite a large part of that's, you know, growing up. That's, or at least when we were at school and things, that was kind of a major source of bullying. And I think growing up and realising, oh, cool, I like girls. That's fine. I've put myself in that box, and no questions asked for quite a long time. Because that box was safe, and I knew it was, at least that part of it was true. But didn't realise there was an awful lot more to kind of uncover in that respect.
So all of this is what kind of led to our name when we were first coming up with, like when we were starting the business. We were like, oh, what can we be called? And do you know, a lot of what kind of motivated us at the time was like us being our own customer.
Yeah.
And what was the service we were providing? Because, you know, we're not just selling toys. We are like trying and testing things and giving things like a really good go, so that if anybody has any questions about anything, you know, we personally use everything that we sell. So we know we have our own personal experience we can draw from, and, you know, we know what works for us. We know what works in our dynamic. We know how we've used these things in scenes and can give people ideas and examples and discuss things quite in depth. And I feel like all of that is like a service that we provide alongside just what we are selling.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of arrived at this point because through the 10 years of us being together, we have spent an obscene amount of money on toys and gear and stuff, and we were just so often disappointed with what we'd got.
Yeah.
You know, things not living up to how they were advertised, or, you know, getting things and they break after a few uses. And I wouldn't even say that we are particularly hard on things.
Speak for yourself.
I think we have the capacity to be, but I think a lot of things don't even make it that far.
Yeah.
You know? And really, like, we were sat there going, surely there must be other people out there who are also tired and frustrated of spending lots and lots of money on stuff that just doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
But by this time we have found quite a reasonable number of things that do work for us and have held up to the test of time.
Some of them for like not quite 10 years, but getting close at this point, you know. So
so this thinking that there must be other people out there in this situation, our business, we would be our perfect customer.
Yeah.
I wish there had been something like this for us to go to.
Yeah, especially at the beginning, which is where the kind of sanctuary part of like our name comes in, and that, you know, a lot of what we're doing, we're kind of advertising to beginners, people that maybe don't have the money to go out and buy like bespoke handcrafted items, because as much as, you know, we own a lot of stuff like that as well. We love supporting other creators and other makers and stuff out there. Their stuff is beautiful and stunning and is definitely worth buying if you know that you like that stuff. I feel like we're sitting like a wee bit closer to the beginning of the journey where, you know, you're not sure if you like something yet. You can get something that is great, works well, is going to do you a long time, but gives you that kind of like opportunity to try things at a lower price point before you commit and get something potentially.
Yeah, because as well we try new things so often.
Yeah.
And buying all the things to go along with every new idea we have can get quite expensive.
And not all of it we enjoy. Do you know, this is the thing.
It's quite
like,
a big commitment.
It can be quite a lot if you go and drop X amount on a toy and then it's not really your thing. Like, so Aye, I think we're kind of hitting this like middle ground, do you know?
Yeah, and I think as well, the fact that we are telling people all these things we are selling is in our toy box at home. I think that really helps to put people at ease.
Yeah.
And they don't feel as weird or like they're being judged as much.
Totally. There's
because
no that
they're
shame.
Attracted to a certain thing.
Yeah.
You know, me being able to go, oh yeah, we've got that at home, we use it all the time. It's, you know, and the person's going, oh right, like I've felt a wee bit weird about looking at this or whatever.
Or asking questions.
Totally. Not knowing what a thing is or what it does.
Yeah.
It's really nice to be able to kind of do a little bit of education for people as well. Because there's lots and lots of fun things out there to try. And,
we're going to do them all. Yeah, I think this is what's kind of led us into doing the podcast and stuff as well, is that, do you know, it's been so nice, like, getting to be that person that makes someone comfortable and is able to have, like, these conversations and educate people and stuff on things that, you know, you're not supposed to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to, especially in public, having a conversation like this. Do you know, that it's nice that we are now able to kind of give back in a way and create a space that, do you know, maybe someone who was in that position we were in before we went to our first ever munch maybe would listen to a podcast but wouldn't be feeling up for going to an event yet, and gets to hear about, you know, our experiences and gets to hear about, like, us essentially normalising this stuff in a way that, you know, the hope is going forward that we're going to get event organisers and stuff on chatting and kind of speaking about their events and what goes on, and just giving people like a little window into what goes on and letting them dip their toes in before they go along, kind of thing.
Yeah, because that can be quite an intimidating prospect.
Totally.
Feeling like you want to go to events but not really knowing what to expect, what the sort of norms and things are for going to these events, and dress codes and things like that. That can all be like quite overwhelming to begin with. And I feel like the community has given us so much. We have benefited so much from being a part of this community that it kind of feels like the least we can do is to give something back.
Totally.
Especially if it helps new people who are thinking about joining the community. It is a lovely place to be. There are so many lovely people, so many, you know, intelligent and experienced people that can help you so much on your journey.
Yeah. So we now travel to events and markets up and down the country, and I've got to have so many amazing experiences and met some absolutely beautiful humans. We genuinely cannot wait to share their stories with you all and just hear a bit more about the kink scene.
Yeah, I mean, we've been at quite a number of events now over the last
since we started going to events was like 4 years ago.
Yeah, 4 years ago then.
Yeah.
We've been all over the country. Even made it as far as Budapest.
Yep. Our first ever market stall that we had was in Budapest, which is hilarious. I feel like we will share that story at another time, but yeah. The opportunities that we've had is, you couldn't write it. It's wild.
Yeah.
So through the business, I was lucky enough to meet Moth from Moth to Flame events, who we'll definitely have on soon because Moth's amazing. And you all love Moth. They're great. So together we have set up Uncensored Scotland, which is cunty, smutty and fabulous events by the community for the community. Our flagship event is the Uncensored Market in Glasgow, which is a safe space and sexy market for everything kinky, queer and sex positive, with a real focus on being a beginner-friendly community space. I'm lucky enough that because we run the business, I've not only hosted the market, but I've got to be a trader at it, or more so Jayson has, because I've been too busy running a bit like a dafty. You've had really good experiences there, and a lot of the feedback and stuff that we've had has been so, like, I remember at the last one, me being me, got home was like absolutely shattered, but still we get like feedback from everybody because we really want it to be shaped by the community and by the people that it's serving. So we've got feedback forms dotted about everywhere and like QR codes, blah 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 blah. So I was checking the feedback to see what we'd had during the day, and there was a story from someone who was saying that they hadn't been to an event in over 3 years and really, really wanted to go and pushed themselves to go. And a lot of the things that we have in place, like we have a quiet hour at the beginning where we have like the lights and the music and the bar closed, so that it's just, and like less ticket sales and stuff, just so that it's like a much more sensorily chill experience. But we've also got like a quiet area built in so that if things do get too much for people, they've got a space that they can go and sit and kind of regulate and de-stress and then come back if that's what they want. And yeah, this person stayed all day because they utilised this space.
That's amazing.
And it was so, I don't even, like I was like crying in bed reading this because it was just like, I don't know, I'd had such a good day anyway. Like things, we had heard nothing but good things and things had went really well. And just hearing that was like just so nice and like so showing that, you know, it's doing what it's supposed to. Like we're creating this space for people where, you know, things are, it's a good intro. I feel like this is our sweet spot, like, you know, for everything that we're doing is like we're aiming to be this kind of introduction for people.
Yeah, a sort of friendly space and beginner friendly, just to, you know, help make that transition into the community as smooth and as easy as possible, because it is a big deal, especially if you're anxious and things like that. It feels massive.
Yeah.
You know, before we started going to events, I never ever would have seen me where we are now.
No. Definitely not. No, for me either. Like
it was very, very much outside my comfort zone. But now, it's, you know, it's a highlight in my week if we're going to an event, or, you know, traveling to go to a market, or because I know that I'm going to get to speak to all these lovely people and just have a nice time.
Get to feel like yourself.
Yeah, I think so much of this journey has been me being able to feel more comfortable in myself and who I am.
Yeah.
And for me, that came along with a bit of honesty to people round about me. Some difficult conversations. But I was really pleasantly surprised with how a lot of the people I spoke to kind of dealt with what I had to say to them. You know, my parents and family and friends now all are totally aware of what we get up to and what our social life looks like. But that has been a massive step that's made all of this so much easier for me.
You've not got that worry in the back of your mind, you know. Like, I think us starting the business and like me quitting my job and this being like the full term, you know, conversations kind of needed to be had.
Oh yeah. Like there was a couple of points where it was like, cool, so we're probably gonna have to tell people what's going on here.
I think my favourite one's definitely like that conversation that you had with your gran when your gran had phoned you.
Yeah, that was a more recent one.
Yeah. With the grandparents who've been keeping things pretty vague. I feel like, you know, the whole story's maybe a bit too much for them. So it's more just like, oh, it's like adult products, and we leave it there.
Yeah.
You know, ask no questions, hear no lies. Like
with the option of, if you really want to know, we can tell you, but
they know they don't want to know.
However, my grandparents have managed to guess what it is that we do. So,
which is hysterical.
Yeah, but it was received really well. It was, you know, told, you know, if it's what makes you happy, if it's what you want to do, then we fully support you. So that's been really, really nice.
Yeah.
It's feeling like all these parts of myself that I've felt I've had to hide all this time, that the people around about me are really accepting and still really supportive. It's been lovely. now we'd like to speak a wee bit about what we're going to see from this podcast, what we're hoping to see, what kind of things we're going to cover, just how things are going to look going forward.
Yeah. We're obviously going to leave a bit of space for, this is likely to evolve and change, because that is kind of our jam as we go. But
yeah,
at least for the moment.
Based on feedback and what people would like to see out of this.
Totally.
So every episode we're going to bring something different. We're always going to be kind of bringing it within the focus of a few things, being community, education, and sin.
Funnily enough.
Yeah.
So, kind of future segments we're looking at is like interviews, so featuring community members, guest experts, influencers from kink, BDSM, queer, and sex positive spaces, potentially some sex workers, some people that run events in the community, maybe some dominatrixes. That would be good fun. But yeah, just people within our communities that, have a story to be told or have an insight that they want to share.
Yeah, I think we'll also be reviewing events, letting people know a bit of what to expect from this event. What
actually goes on.
What actually goes on.
Yeah.
To make that a less anxious thing, hopefully, for people to, if they know what to expect, and if it's something that suits them.
Yeah, I was going to say this earlier, but obviously with kink and kink events, every event has rules. Every event does have a kind of outline of what to expect. But I think, there's a difference sometimes between what is allowed at an event and like what the vibe of an event is. Do you know what I mean? I think sometimes like things can be outlined in a certain way, and that's great. And you go, and it's not that people are breaking rules per se, but it just has a different flavour to it. It just has a different, it's mad how different similar events are in different cities, for example.
Yeah, even sort of like more high protocol events can look very different from each other.
Yeah.
And the sort of the vibe and the flavour that it sort of has. So yeah, we'll be sharing our own personal experiences from the events that we go to.
Yeah. We've got our first one this weekend that I reckon we'll do an event of, which is Glow down at the Townhouse, which is a swinger event rather than a kink event. But yeah, definitely share some stories from that when we come back.
Yeah. I think that'll definitely be quite interesting. Would also love to cover like listener questions. So if anybody has anything they'd like to ask or anything they'd like us to speak about, we'd love to get those questions from you and answer them.
Yeah. We're also going to be doing like a listener confessions segment. So if anybody's got any like funny or
just generally kinky confessions that you'd like to share with us, we'll quite happily read them out and have a wee chat about them.
Yeah.
We'll also be looking to do like themed discussion. So doing a bit more of a like, sort of deep dive into topics like consent, power dynamics, healthy relationships, queer identity, and really anything else that we feel is relevant or interesting.
Yeah. Kind of diving into the kind of more sinful side of things as well, with that, with like cults and maybe witchcraft, and just kind of covering anything that the church has taken issue with basically over the years, and looking into why that is and what the reasons behind that are for. Not less with the cult one, because that's quite obvious, but yeah. But yeah, definitely we would love for you guys to get involved. We're looking, as with everything that we kind of do, we're always looking for feedback. We're always looking to, cover like a need for people and create something that's going to be a benefit, rather than it just being us rambling away about things people aren't interested in.
Yeah.
So yeah, this podcast is as much yours as it is ours. So
absolutely. So I think that's probably just about everything we've got to say for our introductory episode.
Yeah. Absolutely buzzing for going forward, and this has been a lot of fun. Yeah. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot. We just talk all the time anyway, so we spend 6 hours in the car chatting when we're driving down to markets and 6 hours back, so this is not new for us, but it's nice to feel that, do you know, this has got the potential of giving back to the community that's gave us so much, and we're so grateful for that, and anything that we can kind of contribute back is definitely worth it. And bonus points that it's great fun as well. So
yeah.
Our next 7 episodes are going to be covering the 7 deadly sins and how they relate to kind of the modern day and what that kind of looks like. But I'll not give too much away, but definitely tune in for them. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, you filthy little sinners. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we enjoyed making it.
We're keeping this podcast deliciously ad-free, so if you want to support what we do, head over to our Patreon and join our Church of Sin.
If you're craving some new personally recommended kink gear, check out our website, thesanctuaryofsin.com, for all your naughty needs, and use the code SINPOD at checkout for a 15% discount.
Got ideas, feedback, or just want to tell us what made you blush? We'd love to hear from you.
You can find all our socials, including Instagram, Twitter, and FetLife, on our Linktree, which is linktree/thesanctuaryofsin. Thank you for sinning with us.
And don't forget to tune in next time for our next confession.